Welcome, and thank you for joining us for Emory's Philanthropy Lab 2021 Giving Ceremony. My name is Brian Goebel, and I'm proud to serve as one of our instructors, co-instructors for this year's Philanthropy Lab course, alongside my good friend and colleague, Tanae Traylor of the Candida Fund. So Tanae and I met a long time ago. I'm not going to date ourselves. In our first professional experience together right after college, we started working together at the United Way right here in Atlanta. So we often have talked as we've developed and taught this class this year about how a course like this one, we wish we would have had in our college days. It really, truly helps accelerate both the knowledge and understanding and effective tools to be a good philanthropist and be a great, social sector leader. So alongside our students, we picked up quite a lot this year as well. So we're excited to celebrate this important milestone moment as we finish the end of the semester. We're welcoming our students, but we're also making this an extra special course session today with lots of special guests, both from our Emory community and our broader Atlanta community and beyond. A lot of friends from our national team of Philanthropy Lab down in Texas as well. So excited and special thanks for Emory's president, Greg Fenves, for joining us today. Goizueta Business School Dean Karen Setotal is joining us. Thank you to BBA Program Dean Andrea Hirschshatter and our Business and Society Institute leader, Wes Longhofer. This is one of our many courses offered in our Business and Society concentration. So Wes, glad you're here today as well. A shout out to all of our collaborators. This class is really about collaboration, as best philanthropy is. So thank you to Rohit Mahatra and the Center for Civic Innovation team for joining us. Bethany Harper and the team from Philanthropy Lab down in Fort Worth, Texas. And we've had a lot of guest lecturers make this experience really rich this year. So thank you to Ellen Mott, one of our proud Goizueta alums, local philanthropist, Dina Kimball of the Candida Fund, Dr. Janelle Williams of the Federal Reserve Bank, John Goldman of Robin Hood Foundation, and Brianna Spurley of the Harlem Children's Zone. All of them created amazing lectures for us, and we're glad you're here to celebrate as well. And of course, last but not least, the amazing leaders of 11 nonprofits that we're going to get to know here in today's ceremony that our students work closely with and made really phenomenal investments in grant making in. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to turn to my colleague and co-instructor and good friend, Tanae Traylor, to tell us a little bit about Philanthropy Lab, what it is and why we teach it here at Emory. So Tanae, take it away.
Oh, thank you, Brian. As you've said, first of all, this course, I would have, had I been so lucky to have taken a course like this during my college years, I was on a different track in college. So this just reminded me how amazing the students at Emory are and how committed they are to their futures and the community around them. For those of you who don't know, I'm with the Candida Fund, which is a private foundation here in Atlanta, and I've also spent around 20 years in the field. So when I met Brian, I was probably close to the ages of a lot of these young people that are graduating and moving on with their careers. So this was quite the experience. But this course really, boldly introduces business school students to the role of philanthropy in solving public problems, with the focus on addressing one of the biggest challenges for our city, our region, and our country, which is inequality and, of course, inequity. In addition to lectures and reading about philanthropy and its history and traditions, of course, the flaws and the strengths and the practices, and students also learned by doing, which I think is, fundamental and really understanding, philanthropy. And so they were able to do some real grant making. And this year, our course partnered with the Center for Civic Innovation, as Brian mentioned, to identify the most innovative nonprofits in the Atlanta area. Students formed these mini foundation teams that were amazing, that defined giving priorities. They developed rubrics, they threw the rubrics away, they came back to the rubric. They spent a lot of time understanding the work of nonprofits and, more importantly, the leaders that are guiding the work. Collectively, the students made 10 grants totaling $55,600, which we are here to celebrate today. And Emory is not alone in delivering this unique learning experience. We are, of course, Bethany is here, and we're part of a larger community of 32 universities that offer similar courses as a part of the National Philanthropy Lab Network, which has helped to make, which students have helped to make over $11 million in grants since 2011, which is an amazing accomplishment. So we're here today to do two really important things. The first is lift up the work of our grantees and the partners that make all this work happen for our communities here in Atlanta. As you see from the logos represented here, there's a collective and collaborative effort that, that is driving our work and making a real difference in our community. And secondly, we are celebrating the journey of 18 students this year. You know, let me just say, the future is so bright with these young people and these students, with the commitment that they have as change makers. You know, to be honest, you know, if Candida wasn't spending out, I would probably be making a huge case to see if I could get half these students to come work with us at the Candida Fund. They're just amazing. And a lot of them are transitioning into the real work world, and there's an amazing talent pool. So if anyone's hiring or interested, you cannot go wrong with any of the folks that you see on your screen. They're amazing. So let's get our celebration officially started. We've got a great program in store, planned by our giving ceremony co-leaders and graduating seniors, Madison Cherry and Lori Stuffel, which includes remarks from President Finvez, grant announcements highlighting amazing nonprofits, words from Grantees College AIM and Step Ahead Scholars about their collaboration and partnership, an announcement of Emory's official ambassadors to the summer conference, and student reflections. So I'm going to turn it over to some amazing students and leaders, Madison and Lori, who are our giving ceremony co-leaders.
Thank you so much, Professors Traylor and Gilbo, and welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you, and particularly to kick us off, so excited to have President Fenvez here, truly the busiest person on our campus. So when we found out that President Fenvez, that you were able to make it today, we were so excited, and just particularly to know that you are excited and committed to the work that we're doing here with all these incredible organizations. So not only just this class, but all that comes with it, which is the amazing grantees that we're here to honor today. So without further ado, I will hand it over to you, and thank you again. We're so excited to have you.
All right, well, thanks, Lori, and it's great to be here and be part of today's celebration. So when I was asked to come to it, I immediately said yes, because I am familiar with the Philanthropy Lab. For some time, I was just chatting with Bethany before we started. They weren't too far away in Fort Worth from my previous home, and I'm pretty sure over the past 5 years, I participated in the Philanthropy Lab course at the University of Texas as president, and was just so impressed with the national organization, with the approach to teaching philanthropy, and with the students. And I was really excited to hear that Emory has a similar program with the Philanthropy Lab. And it is just so important, and especially, it's always been important, but especially in the time that we're living through now. And as I've been learning about Atlanta, the needs of Atlanta. So I was really, really pleased to see this program. And as I've learned a little bit more about the work of the Philanthropy Lab and Goizueta's course, it is so appropriate at this time, as I mentioned. And Atlanta is our home, but it's also, as Tanae mentioned, has one of the highest inequality gaps, however you measure it, by income, by wealth, by educational attainment, by health, and some of the lowest upward mobility rates. And one of the reasons I'm in the business I'm in of higher education is the role of education in socioeconomic mobility. But we can't do it ourselves. It really takes an entire community, and to see the needs here in Atlanta, and Emory has a role to play, and an important role to play and have a course like this, a program like this that brings nonprofits and other organizations together to help identify where there are ways of addressing those important needs. As mentioned earlier, Emory's Philanthropy Lab has helped distribute more than $130,000 to Atlanta-based nonprofits over the past 2 years, and I'm sure that that's been urgently needed funding, urgently needed support, urgently needed talent to learn about the problems and help the organizations, as Tanae has talked about. And this really wouldn't be possible if Emory was working by itself, as it shouldn't. It's with the grantees and the other organizations, the nonprofits, the advocates, the generous benefactors, and the faculty that have contributed their time, along with alumni. So Brian, thank you for your role in Goizueta. Tanae, thank you for your dedication over many, many years. And I was really pleased to learn about that in your introduction. Thank you to Rohit Malhotra as founder of Atlanta's Center for Civic Innovation. That's essential for building these powerful connections in this network within our community. And thank you to our grantees and other organizations who are here today for the work that you do every day in the city of Atlanta and addressing the needs of the city and the people who live here. And thank you especially, finally, thank you and congratulations to the 18 Emory students who participated in this year's course. I love the way Tanae talked about it, learning by doing. I have strongly believed in the role of experiential learning, actually learning outside the classroom, applying the knowledge you've learned in the classroom, seeing what happens in the real world, because the real world is not the same as the idealized world that we need to teach in and teach about, and combining those experiences and the theory and practice in the classroom with the actual work on the ground in our community is perhaps the best education you can get, and the best combination of different ways of learning. And I'm so glad to see Emory is providing those opportunities for our students. So I don't know how many of the students in this class are graduating, but for those of you that are graduating with commencement 2.5 weeks away, I want to finally say congratulations. So thanks for the opportunity to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, President Finvez. We're so excited to have had you join the call, and also just to talk a little bit more about the work that our student teams have done, but most importantly, to highlight the grantees and the incredible organizations that we had the opportunity to work with throughout the semester. So here are the wonderful grantees. We actually have some students who are going to just briefly highlight you, talk a little bit about the interview process and why you were selected. So we're just really excited to celebrate you. And with that, we can pass it off to Samedha.
Hi, thanks so much. So the first grantee that we want to highlight today is Best Fit. And as the slide reads, they're helping to remove these non-academic barriers for college students. While we were interviewing them, one of the great things we got to see was the actual platform that they've created, and it is a web-based platform that really helps students get the resources that they need. It was based on both founders not having access to all the resources and knowing what they needed when they were in college. And so it was truly amazing to be able to see this web platform that gives the student the ability to check what they're eligible for before even actually going through the process of applying for a grant or getting the resource. And those resources cover everything from like food to grants to housing help, etc. So I just want to say thank you so much, and we're really excited to have you both here, both founders, Asha Owens and Rebecca. I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your last name, Kiwi. But thank you both for joining us today again, and we're really excited that you're one of our grantee finalists.
Thanks, Samedha. It's my privilege to, I guess, introduce Canopy Atlanta. Their mission is to train and equip local journalists to tell in-depth stories in collaboration with residents of overlooked communities in Metro Atlanta's 5 core communities. And like my group found that found the work that they do to be very impactful, because good journalism is a key pillar of strong civic engagement and keeping leaders and systems accountable. And yeah, we really love their approach to training journalists and really growing an impact and giving a voice to communities that are losing their voices right now.
Hi, I'm Alexia, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to introduce Chop Art. Chop Art's mission is to provide dignity, community, and opportunity to middle and high school aged youth experiencing homelessness through multidisciplinary arts immersion and mentorship. So we really love Chop Art's personal hands-on approach to improving self-efficacy and mental and emotional health, as well as the way that Chop Art has created such a caring and supportive community for these teens. So we thank you, Malika Whitley, for joining us today, and we're so excited to be giving Chop Art this grant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew, and I have the privilege of introducing the Georgia Advancing Communities Together organization. Georgia ACT's mission is to build, support, and inform a statewide network of thriving organizations, professionals, and individuals advancing equitable housing and community development. Georgia ACT particularly stood out to our team because Dr. Brown's story inspired and resonated with us, and we loved hearing how she used her lived experiences to better guide her organization. Our team was also impressed by the way Georgia ACT pivoted their strategy to address short-term problems created by the pandemic while still advancing their mission as a whole with the creation of the Lived Experience Affordable Housing Leadership Program. Dr. Brown, your perseverance, dedication, and passion truly reflect in the work you do, and we can't wait to see the progress Georgia ACT makes in the future.
Hi everyone, I'm Heijun Kang, and today I'll be introducing Hope for Youth, which is an organization focused on empowering girls of color with the skills, training, and leadership needed to pursue opportunities in computing and technology. And when my team spoke with the founder, Christina, we were amazed by her targeted approach in addressing racial inequalities faced by minorities in education, specifically in tech. And we thought that their focus on girls of color was really important, especially for those that attend Title I schools, because Hope for Youth was not only addressing the additional barriers faced by BIPOC women, but they're also basically targeting schools that needed their resources urgently before branching out into other communities. So we thought that Hope for Youth's partnership with Microsoft in developing tools that are developing tools and platforms for students also demonstrated to us that they had an achievable, actionable goals in mind, which is why we were excited to partner with them and basically help them achieve their next step.
Hello everyone, my name is Felipe Albin, and I have the privilege today of introducing Ativa Jones, the Executive Director of SAVE Institute here in Atlanta. SAVE Institute strives to save disempowered Black youth from cycles of poverty, crime, incarceration, and lack of purpose through engagement in service, agriculture, vocational training, and entrepreneurship. And what really stood out to me and the rest of my team when we had the opportunity to speak with Ativa was really the passion and then the vision behind helping each youth unleash kind of their own unique potential and utilize that to elevate the community around them, whether that be through an entrepreneurship night to start your own business or working on a chicken farm. It was all about leveraging each youth's unique gifts, which we really thought kind of resonated with our own organization here. And we're really excited and really glad to have you here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to present Showcase Group. Meeting the Showcase Group was one of the highlights of my group's entire semester. I mean, their mission to strengthen justice, involve youth and families through psychological and personal development services so they never face incarceration again is pointed, it's specific, and it's proven to be achievable by just the right minds. And meeting with John Kennebrew earlier in this semester really proved that this organization is absolutely in the right hands. Their approach is backed by leaders and advocates who have seen the ins and outs of detention centers and seen the failings of some mental health institutions, both during incarceration and the advocacy that's desperately needed post incarceration for a lot of these Atlanta youth. And through their initiatives in making swag bags literally specific and relevant to the communities, helping post incarceration students in education or residence help, or even handling COVID-19 was made abundantly clear, and we could definitely see where our dollars were gonna go. And they have an incredible Instagram following, and John really makes Showcase Group what it is, and he sort of serves as that energetic face, and we're so glad that we got to meet with him and really get a personal experience with Showcase Group, and it only further proved to us that our dollars would go very far with them. So thank you.
Yeah, I have the pleasure to introduce the Proper Women's Union and give a shout out to Jasmine Keith as well, who has been doing amazing work with them in their mission to create safe and equitable workplaces for exotic dancers in Atlanta through the use of political education and creating a space that has unlimited access to resources. And one thing that really stuck out to me with my conversation with Jasmine and some members of her team was about, the work they're doing is about dignity of work. It's the work they're doing is about, a culture of civic engagement. And it's not just relevant in Atlanta, but we can change the conversation in Atlanta to change the conversation for the rest of the world. So I'm very excited for the work they're doing. I'm really honored to have got to interview, and really excited to see what they do.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Jason, and I'm really excited to introduce Umi Feeds, and Umi, the leader of the organization. Essentially, the mission is to provide healthy and nutritious meals from donated surplus foods that have been redistributed to seniors, those experiencing homelessness, and Metro Atlantans making less than $25,000 a year. So Umi and her organization impressed me and my team immensely with her incredible levels of passion and dedication to serving underprivileged communities in Atlanta and the city's major issue of food insecurity. Umi's feeds also stood out to us because of the organization's work with sustainable local partnerships such as at Planta and the Whitehall Terrace Community Garden. In these ways, Umi Feeds helps to address various fundamental issues in the Atlanta area, such as environmental sustainability, housing inequity, and of course, food insecurity. So I'm very excited to see where this organization goes in the next few years. And I saw in the chat, Umi mentioned that they were just awarded $31K from Microsoft today. So huge congrats on that end, and even more to look forward to in the future.
Yes, I'll echo that. Big congratulations to Umi Feeds. Super exciting news for you all. And also, last but not least, I'm so excited to introduce College AIM in partnership with Step Ahead Scholars, founded by Deborah and Sam. Also, hello to Pamela. Excited to have you here today. Haven't met you yet, but we're glad you could join. A little bit about these two organizations. So both Step Ahead Scholars and College AIM work to dismantle systemic, racial, and economic barriers to post-secondary education so that Greater Atlanta students are able to achieve their ambitions post-graduation. At Step Ahead Scholars, Deborah and her team work to introduce students to college access strategies and best practices that increase best fit college selection while minimizing college debt. I remember in the interview process, Deborah was adamant about the fact that no student who seeks assistance with her program is going to be turned away. At College AIM, Sam and his team work to increase students' college exposure through campus tours. They provide college and financial counseling for 9th through 12th graders, as well as form strong relationships with college campuses across the US. So as one can see, these organizations complement each other very well. The work that they do serves a similar purpose. And on behalf of Philanthropy Lab and our team as a whole, we were beyond impressed by you all and your passion for the work that you do. Also, just to note, the communication that you had with one another throughout the interview process really stood out to us. You always made room for the other person to speak. You made sure that both voices were equally heard. And it was just a clear sign that you all just work very well together. And we're excited to see your partnership continue to grow in the future. So with that, I'm actually going to be handing it off to the two of you. We're excited to get a grantee perspective from you all, and I'll pass it over.
Thanks so much, Madison. And thank you to everyone on this call for making today possible. My name is Sam Malenikoff. I'm the founder and executive director of College AIM. I'm here with Deborah Neely, who is the co-founder and CEO of Step Ahead Scholars, who also is going to speak some today. I want to say a huge thank you to the students in Philanthropy Lab, to Brian and Tanae, to Philanthropy Lab as a whole, to Emory University, to the Center for Civic Innovation, for your investment in our collective work. We see this blossoming partnership as one that is full of potential, and we're so excited to have the opportunity to really see it forward because of your support. I want to start actually by talking a bit about a time prior to College AIM. And at the time I was a teacher. I remember the moment when one of my students came and knocked on my classroom door. She was interrupting, I think, second or third block at the time. And she had this sheet of paper in her hand next to her and had the Spelman College logo at the top. And she had a grin from ear to ear. And I knew in that moment that the sheet of paper in her hand was an acceptance letter. It was an acceptance letter to Spelman College. And I slammed the clipboard in my hands on the floor. Papers flew everywhere. She ran in the classroom. And I knew in that moment that it wasn't just an acceptance letter, but it came with a $200,000 scholarship that would allow Jody, my student, to be the first in her family to go to college. And as I think about that moment, I flash back to a year and a half earlier when Jody told me that she wanted to go to college, which shouldn't be revolutionary for a junior in high school to say. But for her, going to a school where only 40% of students continued on to college at any level, and only 10% would graduate with a degree or certificate within 5 years of completing high school, it was kind of revolutionary. So based on that one statement, we built out College AIM, which now supports about 1,000 students each year from DeKalb County on their paths to and through college. And Jody was the first of those students. She ended up at Spelman. After graduating, we convinced her to come back on the College AIM staff and actually served as a program manager for a couple years. And now she's actually on Emory's campus in a master's program, earning a nursing degree. She's since ushered 2 younger sisters through our program. One just graduated from Clark Atlanta. The other is just starting at Kennesaw State. And what your support does is it allows us to create cycles of change. It allows us not just to support one student, but to support a family and support a community. And I thank you for that. I'm going to pass it over to Deborah now to share about one of her students as well.
Oh, thank you so much. This is such an honor to sit here in front of all of you guys. I want to thank the leadership at Emory University, Philanthropy Lab. I want to thank Brian and Tanae, as well as Civic Innovations. I couldn't be here without Sam, and I couldn't be here without the support of all of you in the room. I really am so excited to be here. What I want to tell you about is what we do at Step Ahead Scholars is we create college access equity. We do that by empowering students to and through college. And so I wanted to pick a story that you would really connect to. And I have 2. I have a co-founder. His name is Kamal Carter. He's on this call today. The way that I met Kamal is I went to volunteer just to help out students and just to talk about life in general. What we found quickly was there was students who needed help. We helped that student, and we helped that student who was working on a phone writing college essays, who was working on a broken computer with keys writing college essays, and he received acceptance to Brandeis University. What was amazing about that was when he did, it wasn't just like Sam clapping, the whole entire class erupted. And when the class erupted, that is when Step Ahead Scholars was created, because then other students started asking for help, and we had continued doing it. We've been doing this work for 11 years, and we've been doing it with sweat equity. This is the first time for us that we have ever gotten a grant, because we were so focused on helping students, we didn't even think about the infrastructure and doing this work. We are so honored. We are so pleased to be here and tell you our story. Our students through Step Ahead Scholars have received over $67 million in scholarships. We have served over 3,700 students over our years. We are so excited to know that we have a 97% matriculation rate. So our students get to college and go to college, but what we started doing years ago was making sure that they retain. And I want to tell you about one student in particular. That's Christina. Christina is a student from Brandeis University. Christina is a first-generation student. Her families are immigrants from Haiti. And so as a result, when Christina wanted to be a doctor, some people said, oh, that's a little bit too high. It's a little bit too lofty. And so what I will tell you about, it's not just getting her there, it is the experience of her staying there that is so important. It is the through experience. It is the graduation experience that is so important. There were obstacles that Christina faced. Some were personal obstacles, not knowing if she could do it. And this is where the support piece comes into hand. And I really want to thank Emory, because as we are facing that with our students, we have had students from Emory's undergrad, medical school, and MBA to help us support our students come to our base and work with our students one-on-one. But as I tell you Christina's story, she went on from Brandeis on an undergrad level. She got her master's at Brandeis. Then she went to SUNY Medical School and she did a fellowship at NIH. And I'm proud to tell you that Emory University Hospital, or Emory Hospital, I should say, has accepted her and matched her for dermatology in her residency. And so she will be on Emory's campus in Emory's hospital, and she will be making us proud. But I think that when I think about all of this, what I really want to leave with you is we couldn't have done it without the support of Emory's institution, without the support of many people throughout the community. We have on the call today Pamela Scully. Pamela Scully has actually come out and worked with us on Saturdays to help us through this program. And so we appreciate it. But what I think I would like you to know is philanthropy is life-changing. You guys in this room, the graduates from the business school, are going to be the people who are going to be making a difference in the world for students like my student Christina, for students like Sam's Jody, and for many, many more. And what I want you to think about philanthropy from the ground up. And what I mean by that is, when you think about an organization like Step Ahead Scholars, we're not mega. When you guys are in the seats and making the decisions, I want you to look at small nonprofits. I want you to look at nonprofits that haven't had a chance to put a 990 together because they're too busy putting a college application together. I want you to think about all of this. And when you're thinking about it, I want you to realize that community-driven solutions need to be looked at every level. And philanthropy needs to look at all different types of nonprofits. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Sam. I'm so proud to be in partnership with Sam. I love the fact that we are not competing, we're working together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deborah. I love just getting to even speak in the same room or Zoom room as Deborah, as you can probably tell. Thank you, Deborah. I want to leave you with one other piece. As you think about philanthropy from the ground up, I also want you to make sure you are thinking about philanthropy through an equity lens. The Center of Civic Innovation says this so much more eloquently than I ever could or ever will, and it's underpinned by real data that they've collected. But funders who largely are white-led funders at this point give largely to white founders and white-led organizations. White privilege is so real for nonprofit leaders, and it's one of the main reasons why, as you just heard, College AIM has garnered grant funding in the past, and this is the first grant that Deborah is receiving, Deborah and Kamal are receiving with Step Ahead Scholars. So as philanthropists in this class, as you enter the business community, as you enter the philanthropy worlds, I ask you to continue to keep equity in mind as you are giving. I know Philanthropy Lab has made that clear and has taught you as much, but I ask, like Deborah says, that you find the community-driven startups, find the Black-led and women-led organizations, find those people who know the work best, who are closest to the work, support those solutions. That probably means giving less money to people who look like me, and that's okay. That's how it should be. That's what this should mean, because really it's only through that type of equitable giving to the people who know the solutions best that we can start to create the more equitable world that I know this group here wants to create. With that, I just want to say another thank you, both for this wonderfully generous grant and for giving us the opportunity to speak today. This has been such a wonderful privilege for me, I know for Deborah as well, and for all of us in the grant program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciate you and Deborah and Kamal as well, sharing just what philanthropy is all about, and really being close to the ground, that proximate ground up piece. And as our friend Rohit and the CCI team has taught us as well, we need to support those doing the work on the front lines in our community. So we're so glad to be supporting those kind of grantees that are doing amazing work across our Atlanta community. Next, I want to introduce a good friend and partner and collaborator, and collaboration's been a key kind of term today, along with cooperation, is our good friend Bethany Harper, who's the program director of Philanthropy Lab. As you know, Philanthropy Lab is something that is really creating a movement, a learning movement across our country about what philanthropy can and should be. And the best way to learn is, of course, to do it, and do it at a young age. And so the journey won't end for our students at the end of this semester, because of Philanthropy Lab having ambassador conferences and evaluation opportunities where folks will reach out 12 months and 24 months from now to learn about what your organization is doing with these funds, what's going well, what are the challenges, what other means of capital, whether that's financial or reputational or social, can be brought to bear to help you be more successful. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Bethany Harper to talk a little bit about our Summer Ambassador Conference and the election results of which Emory students will be representing the ATL and Emory at the amazing conference this summer. So I will turn it over to you, Bethany.
Thank you. Well, it's so good to be here and just to hear from all of you students and grantees. It's just a really fun thing for us to get to do. And like Tanae said, we've been at 32 different universities. And so I've gotten to pop on to quite a few of these, especially as the world went virtual, which made it a lot easier for me to do so. But I did want to say one thing that's unique and interesting about our program is that every class is different. Every class looks at philanthropy through a different lens. They're all in different departments, have different instructors with practitioner background, academic background, all kinds of different just approaches to philanthropy. And so it's fun to get to hop onto these and see kind of the different ways that students are taking hold of this vision of making philanthropy more prevalent in the lives of undergraduates and graduates in this case, which is fun. We have some MBAs in this class. So like Brian said, I'm the program director of the Philanthropy Lab, and a little bit of background, which they shared most of it, but our whole goal here is to ignite students' interest and participation in philanthropy, specifically at a young age. And our funder actually went to a top university and had always been interested in philanthropy. And as he began to practice philanthropy, realized he took countless classes on how to make money and none on how to give it away. And so in that process and early in his philanthropy practice, realized that the process of giving money away is difficult. So we launched this program because he believed that teaching students about philanthropy and instilling the value of giving back will actually pay dividends to communities as today's students become tomorrow's community leaders. And we have seen that time and time again with students who have taken this class and gone on to be philanthropists that think about equity and just the world through a holistic lens of what's needed, what's important. And so specifically wanted to share a little bit about our Ambassadors Conference, which is an event we do every year where we bring 2 students from every partner university to Dallas for kind of an extended weekend of grant making. So it's this class, but condensed into a weekend. And each team of students brings an organization that they're class funded in the course to pitch for an additional $25,000. And the students get to engage with like-minded peers as well as professors and from all over the country, many of whom are practitioners in the field of philanthropy. We bring in a panel of experts actually that are working in the field of philanthropy, give students the opportunities to engage with them and network a little bit. Last year didn't happen, unfortunately, due to COVID, but 2019, we had representatives from Ford Foundation, Packard, MacArthur, Robin Hood, Hewlett, and students really got to see a different lens or opportunity of a career path in philanthropy, which was really a new unique thing we added that we've really enjoyed and the students have enjoyed. Students will visit sites in Dallas that are a product of philanthropy, museums and the arts district. And actually, like Brian was saying with the class, we actually bring students who were at this conference 2 years ago to the conference this year to present on the findings of the grants that they gave, kind of an evaluation, an update on what they learned through their process. And so throughout the course of the weekend, students decide how to allocate $150,000 to organizations. It's really fun. We really enjoy getting to have the students and meet with them and engage with them throughout the weekend. And so I am proud to be able to announce Emory's elected representatives and alternate. So this year's Emory ambassadors will be Ian Wang and Ari Farchi. with the alternate Kevin Furby. So congratulations. We're really excited to seeing you guys in Dallas, and you can look forward to being in touch with me. I'll be sending you a lot of logistical emails. So thank you guys for having me, and I'm really excited about this work.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Bethany. We really appreciate your support and really excited for the conference this summer. So congratulations to Ian, Ari, and Kelvin as our alternate. So thank you, and look forward to learning more and continuing our journey. So I will pass it on to Madison next for our student reflections.
Yes, awesome. Okay, so I'm just passing it on. Actually, we're going to do a brief reflection on behalf of the students as we get closer to the end of the program, just to let you all hear a little bit more about our journey this semester. I don't think any of us quite knew what we were getting in for, but we couldn't have learned more or had a better, more enjoyable course this semester. So in order to reflect a little bit more, I'm going to pass it off to Calvin and Aaron, who are going to talk about their experiences in the class.
Yeah, thank you, Madison. Yeah, so my name's Calvin. I'm a current junior at Emory studying both business and environmental science. And I originally took this class because I realized that I had a very limited view of philanthropy and the nonprofit sector. And I wanted to gain a better and deeper understanding of the dynamics within the sector. And what really initially surprised me about this class was how real this class was in terms of how we were dealing with real funding, real nonprofit leaders, real community activists. And I think my first major realization stemmed from the fact that I had a very top-down view of philanthropy, in the sense that I only saw it as like the larger organizations. And what really opened my eyes during this class was how many of these nonprofits we were interacting with were very small, community-focused, niche organizations. And I'd say many of them were led by people within those communities and people who had lived experiences dealing with the same gaps in services, the same barriers in the communities that they were serving. And that really makes me just better appreciate the work that they do. And it also makes me better understand and appreciate the city of Atlanta, because I feel like just being here, going to school here, many of the positive things I associate with Atlanta, whether it's vibrant culture, its diverse population, I realize none of those things are by accident. Like they're entirely deliberate, and that much of that has to do with the small community nonprofits that work day in and day out to ensure that the fabrics of these communities are held together. And I think that's something that really gives me a greater appreciation for why I came to Emory and why I was drawn to Atlanta in the first place, and why I hope to stay here after graduation. And moving forward, in terms of just like my professional life and how I'm going to engage with philanthropy in the future, I realized that the nonprofits and many of the issues that they address are not distant from me. They're not separate from me. And since I've gained a much deeper, both professional and personal connection to these nonprofits, I know going forward the importance of not being complacent when thinking about community issues, and realizing that the most effective philanthropy, the most effective change does not simply come from a donation, but it really comes from becoming immersed in the community's problems, research, and really just understanding to know what the resources go to and where they're best needed. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Erin. Is my audio okay? Can I get some thumbs up? Perfect. So I'll actually echo a couple of the same remarks that Calvin made, but first let me introduce myself. I'm Erin Lightfoot, and I'm one of the MBA students in Emory's Philanthropy Lab course. Prior to business school, I worked for about 6 years in warehousing and distribution, with the last of those, the 4 of the last years being at Amazon Fulfillment. And I'm currently joining you all from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium because I was partly inspired from the learnings from this class to serve for the vaccination efforts going on here with a nonprofit called CORE. So getting some more experiential learning in prior to graduating in 2 weeks. But after graduation, I'll be working for Accenture Strategy as a senior strategy consultant in the Atlanta office here, which drove several of my motivations to be a part of this class. I knew that the context would be inequity in Atlanta, and as someone who has lived and worked in Atlanta since 2011, that was really appealing to me. but it was also important to understand more connections between business and society prior to graduating. So I really loved the outline of the class, knowing that I would be able to get a full view of social issues, as well as understanding the philanthropic context to this city that I'll be living in, working in going forward. And lastly, during business school, especially in the MBA program, we have learned a lot of words that start with C. We talk about customer, we talk about competition, but this class really taught me about the community in a way that was very necessary and urgent, since I am a current and future business leader in this city. So I just want to highlight a couple special experiences I had. One was learning from the BBAs. I am not old, but I'm not as young as I was, 10 years ago. So it's been very inspiring just to hear their insights, to hear their passion, which is something that I really needed a boost of before going back into the workforce full time. Just to be able to hear where their minds and where their thoughts are and how they view the world. Our class was incredibly diverse in every way, just from our prior experiences. We have students that had international experiences and grew up in other countries, and people who, it was just great to be around that and be immersed in that through the learning experience. Also hearing from Brian and Tanae twice a week, like to be able to receive instruction from experts in the field for a full semester is things that, I know so many people would be jealous, even when I talk to my MBA classmates just about the quality of instruction and the type of guest speakers we had, and the firsthand, access to different data resources and things that just really helped to inform and give me that holistic view that I desperately wanted before graduating, and I'm so glad I was able to get. But lastly, it was hearing from the nonprofit founders, many of which are on this call today, just being able to tie in the history of philanthropy that we learned through class, the current state of philanthropy and inequity in Atlanta, but to hear their stories and truly their lived experience. These are the type of stories that I'll be able to take into my consulting career when I am pitching to clients, when I am pitching to a managing director or a partner about why it is important to prioritize these needs and to make sure that we are looking at every single part of our community, and especially Atlanta, since I'll be working here. So just talking to kind of wrap up my reflections, ways that I plan on remaining engaged in philanthropy moving forward. Of course, I've made a financial commitment to give 10% of my income to nonprofits and worthy causes. And I've also made a commitment to give my time. So of course, we've learned how to make money through school, but I've learned how to give it back, as Bethany said, but not only will I be giving back my money, I'll also be giving back my time. Formally through Accenture and their corporate citizenship program, but also similar to how I'm working at Mercedes-Benz right now, and just identifying organizations to align myself to and continue to learn and grow from. I don't know it all, but I definitely can learn more. So thank you all for allowing MBAs to be a part of the program this year.
Wow, well, thank you, Erin and Calvin, so much for those incredible reflections. As a student myself, they resonate with me very strongly and really encapsulate so much of our experience this semester. So thank you both so much. I'm gonna turn it back over to Brian and Tanae to close us out for today.
Well, what can we say? This has been an amazing hour. And I think this is just such a strong moment to congratulate, all the work that the students of this class has done all year. I'm just gonna close us out by, saying thank you to just a couple of people again, and just highlighting Deborah's point around philanthropy from the ground up and how critical that is when we think about the change that we're trying to see. And you know, we reflected on this theory around SMURF. We talk a lot about SMURF, which is from Ambassador Jim Joseph, which he leads with saying that philanthropy is not just financial, but it's social capital, it's your moral capital, it's intellectual capital, it's your reputational capital, and of course, it's your financial capital, and how you use those things are critical to how you create community change. And so I think this class has been able to really, and this ceremony has really been able to highlight the power of each form of capital. And I'm really excited to be a part of this, this class. And I wanna thank President Finvez. I wanna thank Lori and Madison for your leadership. I wanna thank Sam and Deborah and Kamal for your reflections. I want to publicly congratulate each student that really, you know, put both feet forward in this class. And you know, sometimes, you know, we're asked to teach, but I learned so much from each one of you, and I just want to say thank you for that. And I cannot go without thanking Brian. Thank you, Brian, for asking me to co-instruct with you, and thank you for your leadership. You've been an amazing partner and a co-instructor.